Incoming transmission.
The Klingonese word of the day is Kwak.
These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise.
So, this is a huge victory for the good guys.
Scotty, beam me up.
Resistance is futile. Live long and prosper.
Boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings and welcome to the Computer Resume podcast, the show covering the entire Star Trek franchise in chronological order for fans new and old. I'm your host, writer-comedian, Mr. Todd A. Davis. From Jamaica to Canada, an actor with credits in film and television, he is Lieutenant William Christopher in 16 episodes of Star Trek Discovery. It's Orville Cummings. Yay!
Hey,
How you doing, man?
I am blessed, man. I'm doing well. It's a beautiful Saturday. Is it Saturday?
It is. I lose
I have no
track of
concept
time.
of time. Yeah. Regardless, it's a beautiful day. I'm here. It's beautiful in Toronto, Canada, where I'm located right now. And
Nice.
yeah, I'm happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah. To pull the curtain back a little bit, we ran into each other at
Yes,
Trek Long Island.
that is true.
And generally, you see a lot of the stars kind of walking around either in their con look, their street look. It's rare to see somebody walking around in a little bit of Star Trek gear, but you were rocking the Delta, you were carrying your Tribble.
Yes, I was.
Do you consider yourself? Oh, yes, there it is.
Trouble right here. I don't know what that Klingon word was, but he was shaking over there. And I'm like, hey, it's okay. It's all good.
Trek is such a big thing, and of course, it's coming up on the 60th anniversary in the not too distant future.
Yeah.
We're kind of putting the cart before the horse a little bit here, but your overall experience being in the franchise, and it's not like you were just there for like, oh, I'm here for a one-off to kind of do this one thing and then I'm on. You were there for 16 episodes over
Yes, I was.
multiple seasons. Yeah. What was it like kind of being thrust into that big franchise world, man?
First of all, it was a huge blessing on my career and me developing it in my craft
Mm.
and getting that experience. But like, I'm a huge sci-fi nerd, so
Nice.
like getting to be a part of a sci-fi show and one as prolific as Star Trek. Oh, I honestly, to be honest, like when I got that role in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
it was just supposed to be for like 3 episodes, but it kind of like grew into something bigger, which is like for the next 2 years up until 2022, I still didn't believe it was real. I'm like, this is kind of crazy. I'm like, the whole world's in a pandemic. There's a flaming tornado. Half the Amazon forest is being set on fire. Yeah, this is like the most euphoric dream and a nightmare happening. So this is not real. This is not real. Everyone around me is trying to convince me it's real. Bro, you're on Star Trek, and I'm like, are you sure? Because I'm still not sure. You guys keep saying that, but I'm still not sure. Even when they yell action, even when they send me the script, even when we do the table reads, like
Right.
it was just such a dream, and it was such an amazing experience, and it's something that I will never forget for the rest of my life. And I'm honored to be a part of such a historic franchise. That was like huge for me. Huge.
That's incredible. Well, so being a self-described sci-fi fan, what are your big sci-fi fandoms? Like what are the big ones for you?
First of all, I'm gonna make a comment on that statement you just made.
Yeah.
You don't yuck anyone's yum. That's freaking hilarious. I would have used that statement now. Yo, look, we don't judge anyone. We don't yuck anyone's yum around here. That's freaking hilarious. In terms of
Thank you.
sci-fi, there's all sorts of medias of sci-fi that I love. I grew up watching sci-fi, Stargate, Atlantis. I've seen
Nice.
Star Trek growing up as a kid. I didn't fully understand it, and I thought that and Stargate was like the same thing, which is like
Mm.
appalling to a lot of fans. Like, what? No, they're so different. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I was a kid. You know, I thought when I watch a movie on TV and a commercial comes out, that was the end of the first episode, and when it came back, is the next episode. So
Oh, wow.
I was fortunate enough growing up in Jamaica to get a lot of the sci-fi channels because we get American television down there, which is better television than Canada.
Okay. Yeah.
It's more variety. So I watch a lot of Star Wars, Star Trek, Stargate, Atlantis. Anything with sci-fi I always love because I always just love space in my everyday life. I'm always
Mm,
curious about what's out there, and these shows are bringing me there because I have like a very active imagination, which is why I decided to become an actor. So
yeah.
watching sci-fi and being in sci-fi kind of just like blew my mind. So I'm like totally into it. One of my favorite sci-fi movies actually is Ex Machina. I love that movie. That movie is phenomenal.
That's a great one. Yeah.
It's such a good movie. So I'm all here for sci-fi. Funny because we're gonna talk about the episode because the episode kind of reminded me of one of my favorite sci-fi shows right now, Severance, which only has one season, and
Okay. Yeah.
that's such because of the memory loss thing, and I'm just like Severance is kind of about that, but the entire show is about that. So you take that episode and spread it through an entire season. That's what Severance is. So I'm just like, oh, cool. I like this
Interesting.
episode. Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah. With starring Adam Scott, I believe. Correct.
Yes, Adam Scott and I think Ben Stiller is the producer or the creator
Okay.
of the show.
Yeah.
And I love Ben Stiller because he's known for his like comedic roles, but like he has such a abstract sci-fi mind. Ever since I watched The Secret Life of Walter Schmitty, or I think it's called. If anyone,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, if you haven't seen that, it's such a great movie. So he is a very like interesting mind. So I love anything Ben Stiller produces and puts on.
Yeah, and a lot of people, in fact, last week or so, I had a chance to remind somebody about Adam Scott was actually in First Contact.
Ah,
He had a very brief role as the helmsman of the USS Defiant.
oh, sick, sick. I didn't even know that. That's sick.
Report!
Main power's offline. We've lost shields. Our weapons are gone.
Perhaps today is a good day to die. Prepare for running speed!
Sir, there's another starship coming in. It's the Enterprise.
Wow, that's so amazing, man.
It's pretty dope. It's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't gotten to watch Severance yet, but I've had a couple of other friends who were like, "Oh, this will be right up your alley." I really dig that. The idea of like science fiction dealing with your perception of reality and stuff like that is very Philip K. Dickian, if I can
Mhm.
turn his name into an adverb or an adjective, I guess.
Yeah,
Um, I love the Alien movies, the Predator movies.
love Predator. Yeah.
It's, I mean, as you know, futuristic and sci-fi as they are, they're monster movies. And
Yeah.
that, I mean, that's great old entertainment. For the more head trippy type stuff, I always love the films based on the work of Philip K. Dick. You know, you got Blade Runner,
Love Blade Runner.
Minority Report. Oh, there's a bunch. Total Recall. Next, The Adjustment Bureau. Like, there's a bunch out there, and it's all very head trippy. I introduced somebody recently to Scanner Darkly. Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, and like Woody Harrelson, Robert Downey Jr. Like, it's a really fantastic movie. Anyways, going off on a tangent here. So let's go back. Born in Jamaica, and you
Correct.
started watching American TV in Jamaica, which is where you found your love of sci-fi. And then you eventually came to Ontario. Did your love of sci-fi from childhood sort of feed into your desire to be a performer and to get into acting, or was that a completely separate thing?
I think for me it was separate. I
Mm,
think what really got me into being a performer was more the comedic stuff I grew up watching because I love making people laugh. So Fresh Prince was like one of my all-time favorite shows growing up, and
of course.
that's what really pushed me into becoming an actor. Because I love the show, and then watching Will Smith go from that sitcom show to like Independence Day, which is sci-fi also. So
Oh yeah.
he crossed the boundary, and then I was like, whoa, what is this? So I've always been interested in performing because of that, but I've never really taken it seriously as something I could do. I would just like, do it just to have fun. I'd have my action figures, I'll try to entertain my friends, we'll do role-playing stuff all the time. But like when I got to Canada is when it really sunk in that I could really do this for myself and go down this path of being a performer. So that's what I really looked into. And I went down the comedy route first to try to do a lot of comedy shows. Unfortunately, at the time, I don't know why, Canada or Toronto itself doesn't like cast a lot of comedies, or if they do, it's very specific type of comedy. And I don't
Okay.
want to like, it's very like, I don't know how to describe it. I call it It's for the demographic of people is like the Susie, Saskatchewan. So it's very like comedy that's very like rural. And they
Okay.
don't really shoot that year. They shoot in like Saskatoon and all these other places that I don't even go. So a lot of the stuff here is like drama. So I kind of like went into that in terms of like my training, doing very dramatic acting. But the most fun I've ever had is doing sci-fi and comedy. So I'm trying to do that more in my career.
I recently talked with Todd Stashwick, who came up through Second City and got his start in comedy as well. So we just finished talking about your sci-fi favorites. What are your comedy favorites? Do you have a
Oh
top
man,
performers or films or television shows? You just mentioned Fresh
Fresh Prince.
Prince.
Yeah.
James Avery
Oh, I
is
love
a
him. The
phenomenal
best,
performer.
best dad on TV.
Actually was on Star Trek. He was in an episode of Enterprise. Yeah.
No way. This is crazy.
And to
That's
be honest,
crazy.
like with his voice, they cast him as a Klingon, which was
That's perfect.
perfect as a Klingon. But
That's
there were no slouches on Fresh Prince, and it is fascinating to see Will Smith himself transition from season 1 to season, was it 6 or 7?
six. It went to six.
6. Watching a season 1 episode juxtaposed with a season 6 episode, and he's really paid attention and picked up the craft and has
Yes.
really gotten into it. And then of course, seeing him transition into action films with Independence Day, Bad Boys, and the list goes on and on. But
Yeah.
then also seeing some of his dramatic turns as well. And
Hmm.
when I talked with Todd Stashwick, we talked about, some of the comedy folks have very deep dramatic roots as well. Robin Williams, a phenomenal comedic force. His dramatic roles are
So
top
good.
notch as well.
So good.
Who are your comedy influences, and comedy favorites?
We already said Will Smith. Love his comedy, type of
Yeah, of
comedy. Ryan Reynolds, he just gets me cracking up all the time. I was just like,
course.
when the Detective Pikachu movie came out, I'm like, who's gonna voice Pikachu? Pikachu doesn't talk. I'm like, Ryan Reynolds? I'm about it. And I watched it and I loved it. I'm just like, oh my God, this guy can't fail. And I'm so hyped to watch Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, I know he's gonna bring a really good the contrast between the seriousness of Wolverine with Deadpool's like silly behavior is gonna be like, mwah, I
Oh
can't wait
yeah.
for it.
I'm super pumped for it too.
Yeah, so I love a lot of comedy movies like Superbad, the classic one Superbad,
Mm.
Project X. Not a lot of people, I think, have seen Project X, the movie. The only reason why it holds a special part to me is because the memory that involved with going to see that movie, and that's because at the time I wasn't. It was a rated, R or M for mature movie, and I
Mhm.
wasn't of age. So
Right.
me and my friends, we after high school, we had this elaborate scheme of how we're gonna get into that movie. So we bought Troy tickets, the movie Troy, and we went to Troy, but then we were just like, we're gonna sneak out and go into Project X, and we got the manager of the theater followed us, and we all had to split up in different seats, kind of had to be like down here. So it was just like we had to do our own Project X before watching Project X, and it was like so amazing. So that's a moment I never forget, and it was a pretty funny movie. But I like all types of comedy. Like there's so many comedy movies and shows, and I watched Seinfeld growing up and love Seinfeld.
Yeah.
King of Queens, love King of Queens, so
Kevin
funny. And
James. Yeah.
Kevin James, love Kevin James. He's such a great physical actor. And speaking of Kevin James, I love Grown Ups. I love Grown Ups 1 and Grown Ups 2. With
Mm.
I think I Love My Wife is also one of my favorite movie. And Eddie
Yeah.
Murphy, anything Eddie Murphy's in, I'm down. Like when he came out with Dolomite a couple of years ago, I'm like, this is hilarious. I love this.
Dolomite.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Oh,
good.
yeah.
So good.
I was recently talking to somebody. The idea of comedies came up, and I said, "Have you seen any of the Abbott and Costello stuff
Mm,
from the 30s, the 40s?" They're
mm.
like, "No." I was just like, "Give them a watch sometime," because especially because they were with Universal, they did those crossover movies where it was like Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, and
I love that.
they got the folks in the makeup, and they did this wacky crossover, and they don't really, I mean, not until probably the Marvel stuff did they really start doing those big crossover type things. But
Yeah.
they did it with these Universal classic monsters and this legendary comedy team, put them together, and it's like that shouldn't work, but it does. And
Wow.
it's incredible. Highly,
Wow.
highly recommend
I
checking
gotta
those
check
out.
that out. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, classics. And spoke with Stashwick about John Hughes and the John Hughes movies and, the comedy and what lies underneath the surface of comedy. And I could
Hmm.
go off about comedy for a long, long time, more than the
Yeah.
listeners want to endure, I'm sure. So let's talk about when you got into, I guess this was high school is when you started like taking some sort of formal dramatic training, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
And like, what was the process there? What was some of the early things that you kind of studied? What was the spark that was like, oh, I think I'm gonna take this route?
Yeah, I'm gonna say a wild sentence to or statement just to start that off. It
Okay.
was it was a mistake. And the mistake. This is what the mistake was. I knew I wanted to be a performer deep down, but I didn't know I could be a performer. So what happened was I made a compromise with myself, or I'm just like, I want to be in the entertainment industry, but maybe
Mhm.
I'll become a director or cinematographer. So that was
Okay.
like my first goal. So I took in 2010, grade 10, I took the film and TV class, but I was such an aloof teenager. I didn't fully read what the full thing. It was such a long title for a class. I'm like, film and TV, yeah, that's what I want to do. Yeah. Fix these. I'm doing this last minute to put in my courses that I want to take. I get into class and I'm like, where are the films and where are the TVs? What's going on here? And they're just like, oh no, this is acting for film and TV. I'm like, what? Whoa, okay. I like acting, but I'm too shy to go up here and do and perform for you guys.
Oh,
Fortunately, I had a very inspiring and supportive teacher at the time, and she looked at me because I told her my concerns. I'm like, hey, this is not really what I want to do, but she's just like, you know what? I think you should give it a try. Give it a week, and if you don't like it, I'll talk to the principal and get enrolled in the class you really wanted to. And I'm like, okay, I'll try it for a week. Tried it for a week, nervous as heck.
mm.
Did a couple performances in the class, and I loved it. And she looked at me after one of my performances, like, Orville, this is what you're meant to do. You are meant to be in front of the camera. And I'm just like, no one's ever said that to me before. It's a question I've always had in my mind, but you confirmed it to me. Like you gave me that validation. And ever since then, I've taken it seriously. And I would say, my when I when I have kids, they're gonna hate this because I'm gonna like keep saying this to them that my golden years was in grade 12, in my senior year in high school because I did the school play and a couple of my peers and I created a PSA that went on to win this competition. Won a couple
Wow.
$1,000s for the school, but more importantly, it was shown in Cineplex theaters within my region in Ontario. So that was my
Ooh,
first time on a big screen, still in high school.
wow.
So it was like a commercial before the movie even started, and it was
Yeah.
about cyberbullying. And we came together, and I was part director and I was the lead actor in it, and it was called Pay Attention. It's somewhere on YouTube. Oh, it is. It is somewhere on YouTube.
I'll find
Um,
it.
yeah, I'm sure you will. It's not going to be hard to find. And then a couple of peers of mine in media arts class, we got together and said, we want to, there's so many TVs around school. Why do we have so many flat screen TVs in every hallway? We don't use them. We should do something about that. So we got together, put our heads together, and we created a morning talk show for our high school. And I was the lead anchor. And it was like so wild, me going from grade 9 being the shy, timid kid that doesn't want to talk to anyone, that doesn't want to like perform or do any type of presentations, to being
Yeah.
all over the school, being the most like loud, expressive person, and it was just such a growth. And the way it made me feel, I was just like, I don't ever want to get rid of this feeling. And so I said, I'm gonna keep doing entertainment after high school, and I did. And well, here I am.
Wow. That's incredible. And it's everybody's journey to Trek is very unique. Very, very unique. Nobody just kind of wakes up one day and is just, oh, I'm just on Star Trek. Like there's
It's a journey.
yeah, very interesting journeys. So let's jump ahead a little bit. And I've been lucky enough to talk with a couple of other Star Trek actors about their audition because Star Trek auditions are a thing of legend. That they're sometimes you get called in half a dozen times, other times, rare cases, the role is written for you. But more often than not, it's a very rigorous audition process. What was your first side that was handed to you, the first audition for Star Trek?
Oh man, the first audition. First of all, again, I'm not under the NDA anymore, so I can say this.
Ah,
Star Trek is very secretive about like knowing that you're auditioning for Star Trek. They make it clear that it's a sci-fi show. But I'm very adamant when it comes to doing research when I'm curious about something. So they gave me a code name, a fake character, but I'm less like, I'm gonna figure out what show this is, because if this is season 4, the show's been going around, which means it exists. I'm gonna find it. So when I discovered it was Star Trek, I was like, whoa, that's kind of crazy.
Nice.
At the time, I didn't really like know that they had resurrected the franchise with Discovery. So I'm just like, let me watch it and just like get an experience of what the tone they're going for and what they changed from the old generation of Star Trek. And I watched the first season, and I think I binged it in a weekend because it blew me away. I was like, yo,
Right.
this is crazy. I'm like, you guys got Marvel money now. Oh my God. That fight scene with Michelle Yao and Sonequa on the Klingon battleship. I was like, yo, this is epic.
Yeah.
This is so sick. And I get to audition for this. First of all, I'm one of those actors that love auditioning because I love the opportunity to be seen and to show what I could do, just to make an impression. So I was just like, oh man, this is going to be so fun. I went out and I'm just like, oh, let me research all the old Star Trek gear and everything and what each color meant. So I'm just like, yeah. So I'm gonna buy a yellow shirt. You know, the red shirts have a different reputation than they did in Discovery. I believe
Yeah.
that people are just like the red shirts were dying or something. And I'm just like, let's not be a red shirt. Let's be a yellow shirt. I'll mention this later, but like it's so ironic that shirt I bought. So I bought the shirt, the sweater, yellow sweater. The audition I got was it was a human audition side, but they asked me if I was okay with prosthetics because it might be a prosthetic role. I'm like, all right, cool. Did the audition. A week later, I hear back from my agent saying, hey, they actually want you to audition for this too. It doesn't mean that you didn't get the other part. They're still considering you, but they want to see you read for this part. I'm like, all right, cool. It's like, this is a human. I'm like, all right, cool. Did the audition side. It was very similar to the first side. It was probably the next scene after. So I did it. I think another week goes by, and I remember it was on a Wednesday. I don't remember what day, what time, but I knew it was a Wednesday because it was at that time I declared Wednesday as the day, the perfect day. Because almost every Wednesday something good happens to me. So I'm like, Wednesdays are the days.
Nice.
And I'm like, hey, God, universe, I'll give you until Wednesday to hear about this. If nothing, I'll let it go and I'll move on with my life. Agent calls me in the morning, 11 or something in the afternoon, and said, hey, they actually want to give you an offer. And I'm like, oh, but for which role? It's like the recurring, the human. I'm like, oh, that's huge.
Nice.
So when I went for my first fitting, again, watching the show, I hadn't caught up on the season 2 or 3 yet. And I was like, I'm just picturing myself wearing that blue costume. I'm looking all dapper and everything. And they didn't have it. I'm just like, what is this? And just like, oh, this is the new costumes that we're doing. And it's the exact same color as the sweater I bought. Same tone, same palette, everything. And I'm
Nice.
like, that is actually crazy.
Yeah.
It was an amazing experience, but it was like peak COVID times. So like when I got there, like everyone's faces was covered. And I'm just like, oh, I hope everyone knows that it's me and not just some random guy coming here, because just to get in, the security is so tight. Security's like, hey, what are you doing here? It's like, oh, I'm here for Star Trek. Yeah, let me see the email. When are you supposed to be? I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting grilled. And I get there, I'm like, everyone's gonna question me because everyone's like staring at me because I'm just like the fresh new, like a cadet.
Yeah.
And then when I got there, once I got on the set, everyone know who I was. And I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, we watch your tape. Oh my God, this is your trailer. I'm like, oh, this is so wild. And it was such an amazing experience, but the audition was so fun. I still have the tape to this day because I keep it for my memories.
Of course.
And it was such a fun tape. I remember I had my iPad and everything, like on the console. The ship was supposed to be exploding. So I'm like, it was such a fun audition. And honestly, in a different timeline, if that role would have went to somebody else, I wouldn't have been disappointed about not getting the role because, again, I love opportunity, and I was given the opportunity to audition for Star Trek. And I knew even if I didn't get the role, it wouldn't be my last because it's still going.
Right.
If it wasn't for Discovery, it would have went out for Strange New Worlds. If it was Strange New Worlds, I probably would have got a voice audition for Prodigy or Lower Decks. So there was no scarcity in like being fit into the Star Trek universe at that time because it was expanding. But I got in at a really great time.
Yeah, that's incredible. We've been, as we are on this show covering the entire franchise in chronological order, we hit season 1 and 2 of Discovery, and it's just mind blowing just because there hadn't really been any Star Trek in a while, save for the Kelvin timeline, the J.J. Abrams movies. And it's clear, like, they saw what worked there, what didn't work, and they kind of adapted that into this new generation of Star Trek. And it was such a wonderful celebration of not only Trek, but diversity in front of the camera and behind the camera as well. We were getting new stories, we were getting new takes on this format. The rest of New Trek comes out, and then we get to Strange New Worlds. Now, you being a sci-fi fan, were you there day one when Strange New Worlds dropped? Did you watch Strange New Worlds? What were your thoughts on it?
I was not there day one for Strange New Worlds. I was strictly just like, I'm on Discovery. I'm gonna stick with Discovery. Because at the time I had so many shows I was watching at the same time. Like, if I go all in Star Trek, I can't watch anything else because like these shows are mini movies, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of commitment. But once you're in, and it's like it rewards you for the time you put in. Because
Mm.
at the time I was curious about watching Picard, because I'm a huge Patrick Stewart fan, and I'm just like,
Yes.
I gotta see Picard, and then The Strange New World. I'm like, I want to see Spock. Oh my god, he's my favorite character. Oh, this is crazy. It just kept snowballing with all these shows coming out, and I'm just like, I can't even stop to watch because there's new shows coming out. The Cadets are going to be coming soon. The Section 31 movie is going to be crazy. I'm definitely going to watch that.
Oh yeah.
Like it, yeah. So I didn't really get to watch much of Strange New Worlds. I've seen snippets of stuff because a lot of my algorithm on Instagram is like sci-fi movies and shows, so I've seen like little bits in there. But I think the Among the Lotus Eaters was the first time I fully sat and watched a Strange New World episode,
Nice.
and I liked it. I like how similar but different it was than Discovery,
Of
because there is a huge time gap.
course.
And again, when I was a kid, I used to watch Star Trek that came on TV all the time, so that was my experience.
Yeah, you mentioned your acting teacher being a very reinforcing, encouraging, supportive figure for you in terms of getting into acting. And we've been talking about Anson Mount as Pike and the character of Pike specifically being a builder, and he's a
Hmm.
builder of his crew. And a builder of his crew in the metaphorical sense of like putting them together, but also building up those crew members, like giving them
Hmm.
opportunities and stuff like that, and encouraging them in their specific areas. And this is a really fantastic episode because we're seeing a decision that Pike has made. It's coming back to bite him in the ass.
Hmm.
So this episode, what were your initial thoughts? And we'll stay spoiler free for now, but what were your initial thoughts? Because this is very, it's kind of like the Elysian Kingdom episode where M'Benga goes to the bridge, and now we're in medieval times restaurant, basically.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But here, they show up on this planet, and it's these armed guards dressed in sort of period clothing, but they have phaser rifles, and there's this castle and all this stuff. But things are happening. It's very odd. What were your initial thoughts watching this episode?
I'll say when I watch TVs and movies now, the one thing I get annoyed about myself is
Mm,
because I'm in the industry. So I'm not just an avid viewer. I'm not just watching it just for the entertainment. There's so many things I'm looking at. I'm looking at costume design. I'm looking at acting. I'm looking at everything. Not necessarily to judge it, but see what I can learn from it and what I can observe. And the
yeah.
first thing I observed about the episode was just like Anson Mount. He's a phenomenal actor. I was completely
Yeah.
drawn into him every time he was on screen. So I'm just like, wow, that's a really good captain. So the characters, I love every character that they have there. So the that particular story for this episode was so interesting because
Mhm.
again, this was like the first time I sat and fully watched it, and for it to be like almost like a genre bend, almost like between sci-fi and like medieval, and I
Yes.
love that. Personally, I love that because I'm always like a what if person. So I'm just like, what if in medieval times we had iPhones? Like, what would happen? You know?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, if medieval knights had phasers, what would happen and how dangerous would they be? Would they be
Mhm.
more lethal? Would they be like be more brave? Because like a part of like being brave is like, you have a sword and you have to go in that man's face. Whereas they have a phaser, you can stay like a couple miles back and still shoot and hit.
Right, right.
So I'm thinking about all that stuff. So I love the episode. I love the little romance that's going on. I don't really watch a lot of romance shows and stuff. I mean, Discovery is all about like relationships and everything, but like I really like the chemistry and the romance that they were building, that they've been building, I guess,
Mhm.
between Pike and Captain Patel. So I loved all those little things that were going on. And Ortegas, I love her character because I love a good underdog character. And I love that she's trying to climb up the ranks to prove herself as the pilot you guys want to drive the ship. And then she keeps getting let down. I'm just like, I can see different characters I would come back for the show, come back to the show for to see their development and see where they end up, and hopefully they get where they need to go. So it was a very good first impression watching the show, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a lot of really great things in terms of overall, story wise and the narrative, but even down to the little details of the costumes and the different textures and everything, and all the different things that the actors are doing, different turns, a raise of the eyebrow, it says so much because, looking at film television production over the half century or century really for older pieces, but basically watching the medium transition from, okay, we're going to set the camera here and just film the scene, to, okay, we've got this over the shoulder, we've got that over the shoulder, we've got this person's close up, that person's close up, we've got a wide, we've got this view, and all the things that reveals is allowing them to tell more of this story in quick visuals. I'm a big comic book guy, and watching the visuals transition from panel to panel and the way your brain connects a scene within those panels on a page is really, really fascinating. And there was even something on Discovery that I picked up in season 5 where Stamets is talking with the new number 1, and they did this thing, yes, with Raynor, and there was they were having a conversation in engineering, and I actually ended up, I don't normally audibly respond to some of this stuff, but it made me just, oh, holy that was really cool.
Yeah.
And my wife goes, what happened? They were just talking. I rewound it. I was like, watch what the camera does. And knowing that these two characters weren't really connecting, but the way that they showed the camera movement, what appeared on screen was Stamets' character, the image of him was getting closer to Raynor. And I was just like, look at how they are presenting this visually. And it's stuff like that, oh man, just really makes it just chef's kiss. Just it's so good. But anyways, back into this episode of Strange New Worlds, Among the Lotus Eaters. This is really, really fantastic, and we've got a lot of things to dive into, and I can tell we're both kind of chomping at the bit to get into some of the nitty-gritty. But before we do all that, let's get to this week's recap. Brought to you in part by our Patreon supporters: Rev J, Jerry Antimano, Kitty B, Ed Milner, Fleet Admiral First Class Fred Sims, and Wren, Sir Chauncey Dalton Featherstone Waugh III, Esquire, Zitzman Chiropractic, Dawn Ringheiser, and Nate D.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Hold on to your saddles. It's gonna get a little choppy.
Scans can't penetrate Rigel 7's atmosphere.
This is an undercover recon operation. Enterprise needs to clean up its own mess.
This isn't a normal planet. The radiation affects your brain.
Who are you?
I don't know.
That doesn't sound good.
Time loss, fear, and then you forget.
Help! We need help!
Pike upsets Batel by suggesting their relationship has harmed her career. Enterprise is sent to Rigel 7, the site of an earlier unsuccessful mission.
And on that note, we cue the music.
Asteroids surrounding the planet emit radiation that makes people forget who they are. Pike, Lon, and M'Benga discover that Zach Guyan, a yeoman presumed dead on the previous mission, has become a despotic ruler. He enforces a caste system where laborers lose their memories every night, but he and his guards do not.
How convenient.
The away team lose their memories and become laborers. The crew on Enterprise also lose their memories.
Sucks.
Hearing the legend that their memories are stored in Guyan's castle, Pike fights his way inside, defeats Guyan, and learns that the castle itself blocks the radiation.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Ortegas learns what her job is from the ship's computer and instinctively navigates away from the asteroids.
Whoa, that was close.
The away team recover their memories and return to Enterprise. They pull the main asteroid out of orbit, ridding Rigel 7 of the radiation and restoring the laborers' memories.
And there was much rejoicing.
Pike apologizes to Patel, and they resume their relationship.
Great.
Hey, this is Todd Stashwick. I play Captain Liam Shaw of the Starship Titan. But if you ask me, if I want to listen to the Computer Resume podcast, I say yes.
Okay, so now that we are in spoiler territory, yes, let's dive in. We've got as I mentioned before, we get this thing that Pike there was a decision made in his past. It didn't go well, and which is unique for us to see right off the bat because he's been such a strong figure and almost superhero-esque. We've been talking about a buddy of mine who came on last season mentioned he gets the Captain America speeches. And Anson Mount really nails those Captain America speeches. But that kind of puts you in this mindset of like, oh, this character's always on top of it, makes the right decisions. And so now we're getting a peek behind the curtain of, hey, nobody's perfect. And we're seeing this kind of come back to bite him a little bit. Has there been, working in the arts is such a fickle thing. And again, the raise of an eyebrow could be good for you. It could be bad for you. Like, have you had any experience with that of like, oh, I made this acting choice and was right or it wasn't right? Has anything like that cropped up for you in your career so far?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
That's something I had to grow to like not necessarily make peace with, but we can't let it like gnaw at our consciousness because actors were very, or artists as a whole, we're very like we tend to be very perfectionist. So the work is never done. It's never fully complete. There's always something that we can add to it. And it's just like, especially with auditioning, you do the audition, you're rehearsing for so many days. The day comes, you do the audition, would be a self-tape or in-person audition. You do it. You just like, okay, either feel good or you nailed it or you don't. But I usually try to like feel good about it because I always say I put my best foot forward. But then there'll be 2 days that I'm like, I'll either like a line will come in my head. I'm like, that's what that means. The subtext behind that was so different than what I thought. Wait, hold on. or just like the phrasing of how you say a line will come back and like certain story elements because you run it so much in your head. You're just like coming up with new ideas, but you can't go back and do it. So, but what that does is teach me off camera that when I get on camera to try to make different choices. Like the director will be there to say which choice he wants us to lean more into and everything. But like, just to like explore and experiment because there's no necessarily wrong or right choice. There's strong choices, weak choices, and the choice that the director wants to go with, right? So it's just like it's a collaborative effort, but there is a lot of times where I'm just like, why did I say that way? Or I could have done that. Oh, the story was that. And a lot of it comes with remembering that you're not the most important person in the scene as the person in front of you. And it's not just about you. So it's not about like how you're presenting yourself, is what fuel you're giving the other person to come back to serve the story. So it's almost like sometimes you have to be yourself as the setup and not the punchline, So a good setup makes the punchline a lot stronger. So I'm just like, you have to remember sometimes you're just the setup. So how can you set up the other person to hit the punchline so the scene becomes better? So it's a lot of like thinking and going back. And so it's a natural part of the process to have regrets or to go, I could have done that different or better.
Yeah, and again, talking about comedy, it's the same for stand-up as well. I run my material so much that if I flub a word or if, I get ahead of myself or if I, God forbid, I skip something, I'm my own worst critic. I'm just hammering. I was like, I'm the first person in line to kick my own ass. But yeah, it's hard because it sticks with you. It sticks with you for a moment. And what you do with it, I find what you do with it do you let it get yourself down? I'm speaking more of myself really, but do you let it get yourself down, or do you use that to motivate you to be better for the next one? That sort of thing. I imagine it's similar for you. Yes.
I more before when I was younger in my career, it would be to get me down because I'm just like, oh, I probably won't get the part because of this, and if I don't get the part, to me, it's the confirmation that it's because of XYZ that I've created for myself. But as I matured, I started looking at it with a positive flip, and I learned from it. I remember, and I'll tell this very very brief story. My worst audition that I've ever had in my entire career so far.
Boy.
It was for this show. I think it's called Hudson and Rex. You can look it up. It's a Canadian show, Detective with a Dog, Rex. And it was for one of the series regular roles. And I'm just like, whoa, I'm going out for a series regular. This is wild. Going out from these one-liners to series regular. This is way back. And I'm like, oh, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And I put so much pressure on myself to get it right and whatever. So when I went into the casting office and it was my turn to do my audition, I wasn't on my voice. I flubbed a line because I forget. And when the director asked me, or the casting director asked me to do it again with the notes that she gave me, I didn't really take her note, and I did it the exact same because I worked myself in a thing. And I remember as actors too, we're like, no offense to any actors out here, but like we have to be transparent with ourselves. We're kind of like we have a lot of insecurities in ourselves in our art because sometimes we criticize our art, but when someone else criticizes it, we take it even more. So just like, please like me, we have that. We want that, especially when you're just starting out and you're hungry for it. That feeling is there. Please like me, please approve me. So I could see the casting director out of my peripheral. I have my reader here. I could see it through my peripheral. She's like, she just did a very audible sigh. I'm like, hey, we're recording. Why are you sighing?
Oh.
So I felt really defeated. And even when it came to my slate at the end, like I didn't even like introducing myself because I'm like, hey, I'm overcoming. I just felt so defeated that I remember vividly leaving the casting office, going downstairs outside, and I was at my bike and I just leaned against the pole, and I stood there for like 10 minutes, just like, why am I doing this? What's happening? And I was like on the verge of tears, and I rode home, and it was the saddest ride home ever. It was hot. I was sweating through my pores and my eyes. I was crying.
Oh.
And I remember I got home and I really asked myself this question, if I want to continue acting, because that was horrible. And I said, I don't want that to defeat me. I don't want to say anyone to run to me. It's like, Orville, you still act? And I say, no. And it's like, why? Because I suck. I don't ever want that to be my narrative, my story. So I decided I'm gonna flip the narrative. What did I do in that audition that could have been better, and how can I improve it for the next audition? So every flub I make or any mistakes I think I make in an audition, I try to improve upon it and be aware of it for the next audition. And because I did that, I was getting better feedback, more auditions, better roles, and everything, and better offers for certain roles that I've done. And I'm glad I didn't let it defeat me, because when you let it defeat you, that's when you truly lose. But you got to fight.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And so many of the things that you just described, we actually get to see in Ortegas. She's so pumped. She is ready for this mission, and then gets the news of, hey, we need you to fly the ship. That thing that you're really good at, we need you to keep doing that instead of getting to do this thing that you want to do. But yeah, with that, and I think you've done a really great job of explaining kind of how to approach it, but it's in that moment, I know when I have a bad set, okay, let's go to McDonald's, 4 double cheeseburgers, for that immediate kind of like, all right, we've been defeated for the moment. Cheeseburgers. Do you have anything that you do? Is there a ritual? Is there a routine, a good or bad, a post audition ritual to kind of bring yourself back to zero?
Yes. I was more adamant with it in the past when auditions were in the room, because then your whole day you have to cancel just to go to this casting office to do the audition. And I remember after every audition I did in the room, there was this place, this Italian restaurant, and I would always treat myself to a meal there. And I would just go down the menus like, you did a good job in your audition, you deserve this. When I didn't do good in the audition, my vice isn't like cheeseburgers or whatever, because that's hilarious. I come back and I'm just like, I don't know why I did this to myself. Like, if I felt bad, I come back and I'm just like, I'm just gonna put on a video game and put it on the hardest difficulty. And every time I die, I'm like, That's how I feel too. That's why I love the Dark Souls franchise because it's so punishing, and I'm like, yep, I deserve that. But now because everything is like self-tape, I kind of reward myself with just doing whatever I want because I'm just like, oh, I feel accomplished because I did this today, and I'll go do my martial arts, I'll go meditate, read a book. So my rewards have kind of like changed.
Yeah.
In a sense, it's no longer the spaghetti and meatballs that they used to. It's also because that store closed down because of COVID, so I can't even go there if I wanted to.
Oh.
But I just started like feeling more accomplished for the day, other than stress. Because after an audition, typically when an actor does an audition, they're just like, "And now we gotta wait for the call," and it's the most anxiety-inducing thing all week because all they think about is this, and they can't be present. And I try to focus on being present. I try not to let anything in this industry bog me down because as I learn more about the industry, there's a lot of stuff working against you that can bog you down. And I've seen people drop like flies leaving the industry. I'm like, it ain't gonna be me. It's hard and I feel it too. I'm not immune to these feelings, but I've developed a better coping mechanism. And one of the things I always try to tell myself is like, be present, let it go. Now, if it comes for you, it comes for you. Have the intention to get this role, but just leave it to the powers that be,
Right.
and oftentimes, it worked out well, but sometimes it doesn't, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe, so, so I've just learned to be more present and just to take it day by day and realize that this is a marathon, not a sprint. So once I switched that perspective, it allowed me to be more, I guess, zen and more like focused and grounded in my career.
Let me ask you this, because you've mentioned it a couple times now about auditioning. This is more of a sidetrack, really, but I am curious. Auditioning in person versus self-tape or even Zoom, things of that nature. Which do you prefer? Are there advantages to one or the other? Can you talk a little bit about the difference between the two?
Yes. So I'll put them in order of my preference. In person, self-tape, Zoom. There's nothing more beneficial than a in person, and there's nothing more nerve-wracking than an in person because in a self-tape, you can do it as many times as you want. You can do it till the horses come back from the mountain. You can do it 100 times if you want. It's not healthy to do it that much, even though we get that privilege, because we can work it to a place where we want to get it. But the negative of that is now your work comes off as too thought out and there's no spontaneity in you and there's nothing interesting. You're just too clean, you're too crisp. And it's just like as an artist, as a director too, they want something they can mold, but when you're a finished statue, they can't do anything.
Yeah.
And they're just like, and if it is exactly what they want, obviously they'll hire you because different folks, different strokes. So I prefer the in person because it allows not only for me to show what I could do or what my the angle I'm coming at this scene is. People get to know my personality because if I'm doing this role, I'm supposed to be this hardened person, and that's not who I am in real life. That you will never see that, and you can only judge me based off the filters you want to put on me. But when I come in the room, I say, "Hello, how you doing? Oh, good morning." We can share the energy, and then before I start, like any questions, I'm like, "Oh my god, I thought you never asked if I have anything to ask. Oh my god, what does this mean? What is this? How do you feel? Okay, can we do it like that?" Talk to the reader, and there's a lot of feedback and communication happening. At the peak of like in persons, the director would sometimes be in the room, and I'm like, perfect. The person I want to tell me how to do this is right here. Instead of self-tape, it's all up to you. So it's not necessarily a bad thing if you have a really good imagination and you understand how storytelling and everything works. But to get that feedback from a casting director or the director, him or herself, is the best thing. Nothing can beat that. The Zoom, oh my god, I hate Zoom auditioning. Oh my god, the Zoom is the internet cutting out, the delay in sound. So my reaction is wild, just like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, what are you doing? And it's just so jarring. And it's like there's so many faces on here and in black screens. I'm like, where am I looking? Where's my eye line? And it was just too much. I will say though, there was a show I had an audition for. It's called From. It's a horror show, and I was auditioning for one of the leading roles. And my agent said, "Hey, so you have an option to either do a Zoom or a self-tape. Which one do you choose?" And I'm just like, wow, this is a pretty big role. I don't want the Zoom to hinder me in any way in terms of my the noise situation or the internet cutting out. So I didn't want any interest. I'm like, I want this to be a perfect audition. So I decided to do a self-tape instead. And I regretted that because there were so many things about the character itself that I'm just like, this can go in so many different directions. And I wish I had someone to guide me into what direction they're specifically looking for and going. And I'm just like, I shot myself in the foot by not taking advantage of that because a casting director would have been there to help me out. And that casting director in particular loves my work because I did a couple Zoom auditions. She booked me for a couple of shows. So she would have been more than happy to give me a little feedback. And I wish I'd taken it. And I say I'm over it, and I am, but there's still a little bit of resentment. And I know the day I'll be over it is the day I start watching the show. I'm just like, no, I don't want to see it. It's on season 3. So what? So I do have a little bit of like resentment towards that. And I'm just like, man, like, why did I have to choose between a self-tape and a Zoom? This is so stupid. Why can't we just go back to doing it in person? But again, the climate and the things at the time with COVID, it was peak COVID 2021. So it's just like, it ain't gonna happen. And even after COVID, kind of dissipated, they're just like, we actually saved a lot of money by not renting out casting offices. Let's never go back to doing that. I'm like, what?
Oh, no.
So now in persons is almost like a thing of the past. It'll be self-tape, and if they want you for a callback, it'll be a Zoom, no questions about it. And I'm just like, great. Yeah. And the only in person really is like commercials, and I'm like, it's kind of crazy me going like half an hour across town just to buy the apple and smile and then go back home. I'm like, guys, we could have kept the sub tapes to commercials and do theatrical stuff in person. Why are we doing this backwards? But I have no control over that, and I'm just playing the game how the game is set up right now. I'm not going to complain about it, but those are my feelings on it. But in person would always be the best.
Yeah, there's been a couple times where I've had to drive an hour or more for 3 minutes at a mic in a bar, and it's like, can we get...
but it's a thing we do because it's our love, right? Otherwise, we'd be like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
But we know any little thing to move the needle that we keep chasing.
Exactly. Yeah, it's any mic time is good time, and any performance could be the thing you get noticed for. You never know. Yeah,
exactly.
So in dealing with some of the in-person stuff, and being able to shift and move and improvise like a lot of comedians do or a lot of performers do who have a comedy background. I know I have a really memory. One of the reasons I have to run my comedy stuff so much is just because I've taken a lot of shots to the head over the years in martial arts, and we'll get to our martial arts discussion in a minute. But we see in this episode among the Lotus Eaters, we see these very strong, very capable, very smart, very skilled Starfleet officers forget all of the things. And have you been in that situation where, I know there were times where I was auditioning for things and action, and it was just like the words are gone. I might as well speak a different language because that's going to make that much sense. Like, have you had that situation where it's just like, I'm trained, I'm skilled, I know how to do this. Where are the words? They're gone from me now. Have you had that happen to you?
Oh, 100%. There are 3 instances. One was the first play I've ever did. It's called Zap, and I was the opening scene, and it's supposed to be straight into mid-conversation. So there's no build-up. You're starting right away. There's no take your time, get the scene ready. It's like, let's go. The curtains come up, and I'm there. I'm supposed to be reading a newspaper and complaining about something I'm reading in the news. It comes up, and I'm and the lights come on. I'm like,
oh no.
I'm panicking. So that moment for me was crazy. It only happened once during that run, but I was just like, wow, I really just forgot everything. And there'll be times in self tapes where the camera roll action. I'm just like, is it my line or your line first? So there'll be like brain farts like that once in a while. But because I've taken note of all of them, I really took time to like focus on improving my memory. I've listened to podcasts on improving my memory. One of my favorite memory coach is Jim Kwik. And he's really good at helping people creating newer pathways to like strengthen their memories. I bought his book, incredible book. I think it's called Quick Brain, if anyone's interested who's listening. And my memory is something that I really like value and try to like improve upon. When I learn a scene back in the day, I would like rehearse it to exhaustion till I'm physically ill from saying these lines. But now I realize that my memory has improved so much, I don't have to do that anymore. That I can read it and I'll just get it. And I'm like, wow, there'll be auditions I get and it's 5 pages that is due the next day in the morning and I have stuff to do. And I'll just like rehearse it with someone. And then I'm just like, oh, let's go shoot it right now. It's like, oh, you're ready. It's like, yeah, I got to memorize. I don't know how, but like, let's do it. And honestly, it's my I love a lot of things about my job and there's a lot of things I wish were better, but memorizing, oh man, that's the most tedious and the part of my job I don't like the most, but like it's necessary. And I'm so glad I worked on the memory stuff and I eat like walnuts all the time because it's good for your brain.
Oh, okay. I like walnuts, so maybe
Yeah.
I need to start there.
Yeah, eat some walnuts, turkey, lion's mane mushrooms, really good for your memory too.
Nice.
So
All right.
yeah, all about the holistics.
Oh yeah. Oh man, that's awesome. Do you have is there anything else from this episode that kind of jumps out at you in terms of something happening within the plot or something one of the characters doing that made you think of something or that you connected with personally? Was there anything else about this episode?
I've been having a lot of conversations, oddly enough, about like if our memories make us who we are. Like if we lost our memory, do we become a different person, or do we revert back to our true core of who we are? And I'm like, that's been a big thing because I'm in a book club and we read this book by Vonnegut, amazing author, and it was called The Sirens of Titan. And it talked a lot about like the main character, his memory got wiped like 3 times. So every time his memory got wiped, he had to develop new memories, and he essentially became a different person. So the leader of the book club asks, it's like, when he became a new person, is it because of his memories? And when he lost his memory, did he revert back to his true core essence of who he is, with nothing, no experiences to attach to it?
Yeah.
So the character I really, Ortega, the pilot, when everyone's losing their memory and they're losing their minds, and she's in her room and she's just like, I'm a pilot. And they're like, affirmative. It's like, I drive this ship. I'm a pilot. I'm a pilot. I drive. And she kept repeating it. And then she built up, and then all the muscle memory in her body kind of like allowed her to navigate everything. And I'm just like, wow, I love that. She affirmed to herself who she is. Because I really think you choose who you are. Like, there's not anyone that good or bad that could say, don't, I'm just the way I am. I'm like, no, it's the choices you've made that makes you who you are. You don't need to remember who you are. You get to choose every single day. Like tomorrow I can wake up and just be like, you know what? I'm no longer an actor. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be a fisherman. I can make that choice and I can go into that. I'll still have residuals from like experiences from when I'm an actor that I'll probably bring to being a fisherman. Probably like hold the fish and be like, oh, look at me. I'm Johnny. So there are certain things when it comes to memory that just gets held in our body because our body does keep the score, but ultimately we get to choose who we are moving forward.
Yeah, that's I had a great insight. Very well said. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, we talked earlier about Philip K. Dick, science fiction author, legendary science fiction author, and a lot of the stuff that he was doing was based on who we believe we are within our own minds, within our own memories. And it's a lot of that same type of stuff. And it's very, very fascinating track to go down. I'm interested to look up Jim Kwik and the other book. Tell me the name of the title of the book again that you read. The
Sirens of Titan.
Sirens of Titan. Okay. I'm gonna have to look that up because that sounds like a good read. Yeah, and looking at all of these things, that influence us beyond, we make our own decisions and we do decide who we are, but there are also exterior forces and exterior influences as well, and that's a lot of things coming at us, a lot of sensory input, and a lot of other people as well. And so, as we do every episode, good or bad, we always ask the question, who do we blame? This episode was written by Kirsten Beyer and Davy Perez. Last work for Kirsten Beyer, the legendary Kirsten Beyer, in terms of new Trek. She's been Trek in general. She's been working on Trek for a long time. Kirsten, please, as always, if you hear this, we'd love to talk with you sometime. But her last work in the franchise was Discovery, Season 2, Episode 5, The Saints of Imperfection, which we discussed with the Trek Queen of NYC, Flip Kiki, back on episode 107. And then Davy Perez, his last work in the franchise was Strange New World, Season 1, Episode 9, All Those Who Wander, which we discussed with podcaster Drew Burris back on episode 127. Both of those episodes, really fantastic. Great interviews to go along with them. If you haven't heard them, highly recommend going and checking them out. This episode was directed by Eduardo Sanchez, who was born in Cuba, studied at Montgomery College. One of his early things that he did in his college years was a project called Star Trek Demented. And I didn't find this until late in my research, so I haven't had a chance to watch it. But Star Trek Demented, from what I can tell, is a Star Trek parody of sorts. The entire thing's on YouTube. So I have included a link in the show notes for Star Trek Demented. Please check it out. And I'm going to look for it too. And because I'm curious, I'm always curious about fan-made Star Trek projects. And to let the cat out of the bag a little bit, we are going to cover some of them in the not too distant future. So back to Eduardo Sanchez. In 1997, he and a few friends made a small film that would go on to become one of the most successful indie films of all time, The Blair Witch Project. Orville, have you ever seen Blair Witch Project?
Hey, that's one of my favorite horror movies. I love horror movies. I love The Blair Witch Project.
It's a really interesting, first of all, production-wise, it's a very unique story.
Yeah.
And then it is kind of credited, I believe, as the birth of the found footage subgenre of horror, which is fascinating, which of course led to a bunch of sequels and of course Paranormal Activity, that franchise as well. We've talked about sci-fi, we've talked about comedy. Do you have any favorite horror movies?
Oh man, I thought you'd never ask. Like seriously, I didn't think you would ask.
Oh, okay.
So we already said Blair Witch. Love Blair Witch. I love the found footage franchises. So the Blair Witch. Let's go over those. Blair Witch, Paranormal Activity. Love them. And one of my favorite actually is VHS. I love that franchise. If you haven't seen it,
it's been on my radar for some time, and I talked about cinematic blind spots. It's one of the ones I just haven't pulled the trigger on yet. You like it?
What I love about it is like it almost feels like you're watching an anthology series, like a Black Mirror, because the movie, the story switches. So it's just like these VHS tapes, and you watch one, and it's a horror story. Another one pops in, it's a different horror story. It's all found footage, and they're like every one of them. You watch it. Maybe some of them you're just like, okay, this one's not as good as the last one, but the endings of each always has a great payoff. You're just like, oh, and it ends and it goes to another one. It's like, wait, let's unpack what just happened. We can't just. What do you? So I love that type of horror, and I love The Conjuring, the first Conjuring.
Those are good.
So I don't remember the if I watched the second Conjuring, but I love The Conjuring. I liked the old 80s slasher movies.
Yes.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Nightmare on Elm Street. I love all those slasher movies. A pretty modern slasher film that I really like is Fear Street. The Fear Street trilogy. That's on Netflix.
Okay.
A good friend of mine is actually, she's the lead in it, Kiana Medera. And it's a really good, very fun, very nice. It takes place in different like eras. It takes place in the 80s, then the 60s, then the 1800s. So I love that it went through all these ones and it's like all connected. And I'm like, this is such a good trilogy. And there's going to be a new one.
Okay, I think I recall hearing about this because the name didn't ring a bell for a second, but you describing it, I think I saw some trailers for it. It looks really, really good.
It's really good, and it's based off a series of books. So it's kind of like you would say, like in the vein of like the Stephen King kind of like sagas. This is like the Fear Street saga, and it was really good. And I love Stephen King's work too. I love Thinner.
Yeah.
I love oh my God, Misery. Love that movie.
Oh, Misery makes my ankles hurt just thinking about it.
Ankles, oh my God. Catherine Bates kills that role so much. I love her in that film, and so I love all of the Stephen King's, the old It movies and the newer reboots of It, Stranger Things, which I consider more sci-fi than I do horror, but like
that's fair.
Still into horror, I guess. There's a lot of horrible things happening. So yeah, I could go on and on about horror movies. I always try to watch horror movies. My girlfriend doesn't like horror movies, but I think I got her into it a little bit more. So come October, we're binging all these horror movies, so she better be prepared.
Last October, the wife and I sat down and we said, okay, we're going to give ourselves a theme this year because there's so many, and it's just kind of
Yeah.
like try to watch one or two, try to watch one a day, or try to, watch two, every day on the weekend or something like that.
Yeah.
It gets a lot. So we tried to narrow it down a little bit, and we said this year we're going to do 90s horror, which there's a lot of really good ones. You're talking Scream.
Yes.
I know what you did last summer. A lot of people forget Silence of the Lambs was in the
Silence of
90s.
the Lambs. Yes.
Love it. Yeah. A lot of that stuff. I'm a big Evil Dead, Army of Darkness.
Love Evil Dead, yeah.
Yeah, love those. As I mentioned, Aliens, Predator, and those can tend to lean more towards the action stuff, but like that first Aliens movie, the first Predator movie, had they not shown the ship landing on Earth, it would have been this sort of army action movie that turns into this weird sci-fi horror mystery of like, what is this thing that is killing all these like elite soldiers? There's some great stuff out of the UK and out of England, out of Ireland, some really fantastic horror. Shaun of the Dead. Love
Shaun of the Dead. Oh, that's one of my favorite horror movies. Oh, Edgar Wright.
Oh my God. Jordan Peele's stuff that he's made.
Love that.
Bonkers. So good. So good. And the classics, Jaws, Halloween, the Nightmare on Elm Street series. Love. Yeah. I could go on and on and on.
Yeah. There's so much.
But yeah, Blair Witch Project, it's one of those, it is one of those, it gets its own chapter in the horror movie textbook for sure.
Yes, it does.
And then we've got some guest stars to discuss. Returning as Captain Marie Vittel, we've got Melanie Scrofano, and then we've got David, I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly, Hyun, as Zach Guyan, former crew member who gets left behind. His first credit was 3 episodes of The Adventures of Shirley Holmes. That was from 98 to 2000. And he's worked consistently for the last 20 years. More recently, he did 6 episodes of The Sinner. But this is his first appearance in the franchise. And then we've got Reed Birney as Luck. And his first credit was 1 episode of 8 is Enough back in 1979. And his first film was Four Friends in 1981. He's been on all 3 Law and Order shows. He did 16 episodes of What's Your Emergency? That was in 2015. 17 episodes of Netflix's House of Cards from 2013 to 2017. He was in the film Mass in 2021 as Richard, alongside Star Trek alum Jason Isaacs. But this is his first appearance in the franchise as well. Any of those jump out at you?
No, after you said that his first credit was in 1979, I was like, whoa.
The dude's been
This man's
working.
been acting before I was even born. I don't think my parents met in 79. So I was far from being here. That's so crazy.
I got to say, one of the things I love about the Star Trek franchise, and part of the reason I do it here on the show, is you get these day players, these working character actors who come in for an episode. In terms of Star Trek, they're usually under some prosthetics. They play either an admiral or an alien character of some sort, knock it out of the park, and then they're on to the next gig. And that's the thing. That's the rotation. A lot of the admirals, I had the privilege of speaking with the admirals at Trek Long Island. Their resumes are miles long. Clyde Kusatsu, who was an admiral on TNG, the dude's been working since 73. I think he said his first credit was like, I mean, yeah. And that's one of those things where it's just kind of like looking at character actors, you get to see the range, there's different types of actors, just like there's different types of artists, different types of comedians, but the character actor is a really fascinating thing to look at in terms of versatility and longevity. So it's kind of jack of all trades, but it's also a marathon. You spoke earlier about it's a marathon, not a sprint. And these people have kind of embodied that with their career. Did you get to work with a lot of different character actors, a lot of guest stars. Anybody that sticks out to you in your memory with your time on Discovery or any project really?
Doug Jones is a character actor,
Oh, Doug
and he's
Jones.
he's my favorite that I've worked with. When I first met him in the prosthetic, because I've never I've only seen his face a couple of times working on the show because he's there 4 hours before me and 4 hours after, so fat chance.
You're right, right.
So I saw him and I'm just like, oh, cool, we're talking or whatever. I'm like, wow, this makeup looks so real. You're doing such a good job emoting in that. That's so great. He's like, oh, I've been doing this for decades. I'm like, well, tell me about it. He's like, okay, if you want to sit there and listen to it. And he's telling me about his journey, but then he told me about the roles he did, and I had to stop him a couple of times. I'm like, wait. You were the Silver Surfer? Wait. You weren't Pan's Labyrinth. Wait. You were Billy? You were Billy in Witches? No. That was one of my favorite like Disney Halloween movies growing up, and he was one of my favorite characters in there, and I didn't know it was him, and I'm like, that's so crazy. And I'm like, the range of what you could do under all of that and still make it so grounded is a feat. And David Tomlinson, who's also on Discovery, who plays Linus,
yes,
he's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
He's such a like I've seen David outside of the mask plenty of times. We're quite close, we're quite cool, and he's such a lovely human. And when he puts on the Saurian, he's just like it's kind of the same but slightly different person. And I'm just like, at one point when we were going to a different location, shooting in a different part of the city, and we're in a shuttle together, I'm just like, this is a whole different person I'm talking to. And as soon as Linus comes on, this is a different relationship. I have two relationships with one person, and it's so trippy to me. And it just goes to show how, one, well the prosthetic works, and two, how well these actors can, do that masked kind of like acting. And it's like, it's something that I've been interested, because now I'm just like, wow, what would it be like if I had booked that role instead of the human role, like being this warthog alien? I'm just like, that would have been so interesting. And that's something like, I'm just like, wow, now I want to do that. I want to do like an alien role where I'm in prosthetics and be a character actor. I want to have that experience, because I've yet to have that experience. And I commend anyone who do these kind of like roles as character actors, who come on and bring so much color and life to the episode as a guest star or recurring. I appreciate them.
And we've talked about Doug Jones and his career before, and it's staggering. In a word, it is staggering. Batman Returns. Like I was, wait, what? You were in Batman Returns?
It's absolutely crazy.
Oh, the Guillermo del Toro stuff alone that he's done is just, oh my, Shape of Water. Come on,
he is the Shape of Water.
He is.
It's crazy.
Such a phenomenal movie. Yeah, and that's part of the reason we do this show the way that we do, so we get to celebrate these folks who are just knocking it out of the park. Either as a character actor, as a guest star, or the folks behind the mask. Love that stuff. Love diving into those performers. Now we come to the part, Orville, where we ask the question, is this essential viewing? If someone were to sit down and work their way through Star Trek for the very first time, and they come to this episode, Among the Lotus Eaters, is this an episode that they can skip, or is this a must-see episode?
This answer, my girlfriend hates this answer, and I have good reasons why this answer is always an answer I give, and the answer is yes and no.
Yeah.
The reason why it's a yes for me is because if you've been watching the show up until this point, there's key relationship moments and callbacks to certain resolution to certain, as you said, Pike's decision and whatever, and see how that unfolds. Yeah. So for the unfolding of certain things, I don't think you should skip this episode, and there's a lot of character development happening here. So it's not something I would say skip. I would only say yes to skip it, because I felt like again, this is one of my first full episode that I sat down and watched, and I'm just like, oh wow, okay. I feel like I would be completely lost in what's going on, because it's season 2, episode 4, and I'm just like, no, I understand what's going on. So I'm like, if the episode is this simple, I don't think it's anything that's giving too much information that you would need to like really sit down and like know about the previous episodes and know what's to come in the other episodes. I feel like this episode itself almost felt, I don't know what the format of Strange New World is, but it almost felt like an episode that you could watch at any point. Like you could go episode 1, 2, 3, skip 4, watch 5, 6, and then come back to 4, and you'll still be good. Like it won't ruin anything for you, I feel. and it won't like fully throw you off if you haven't seen the prior episode or whatever. So the answer is yes and no for me. I enjoyed the episode, so I would like definitely recommend it as just a regular watch to even someone who's not a fan of the series.
Yeah, going back to when they first announced Strange New Worlds, and it was kind of, when Discovery came out, Discovery was the first true serialized Star Trek. It was a water cooler show. I think in all 5 seasons, there's maybe 2 or 3 bottle episodes that are just self-contained, but it is a straight through narrative.
Yeah.
And as with any art form, it hits for some people, some folks it doesn't, and that's fine. But I think the powers that be, the controllers, the producers, the executives, heard the fans and said, you know what, with Strange New Worlds, because they made this announcement, with Strange New Worlds, we are going back to an episodic format. But with the caveat that the character arcs are going to be serialized. And I think that was a really smart decision because, I mean, if you look at the 5 shows that encompass new Trek, there's a Trek for every mood. And, this was a bit of nostalgia as well as all the fun stuff of the current times and the current forms of storytelling. So when it comes to this episode, I absolutely agree. Yes and no. If you're looking at this narratively, could you skip this? Yeah, sure. They get into a bucket of syrup and through different things, by the end everything's hunky dory. But if you're looking at the character arcs, we get some important insights into who these characters are. Pike, having to deal with a bad call that he made earlier in his career. We get another closer look at M'Benga, who later this season, it's revealed there's a lot going on behind the eyes of that man. We get a look at Lon, who is always presented as very strong and very ready for the fight. In this, she's down, and we get to see her kind of struggle, quite literally struggle for life. Ortegas, another one who's always ready to go, but gets disappointed, has to stay on the ship, and this very capable war hero pilot gets reduced to what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Oh, I fly the ship. I fly the ship. I fly the ship. And then it rely on muscle memory. And yeah, so if you're on one of those tracks, if you're following a particular character, yeah, this is essential because we get to see these characters at a weak point. And it's easy to look at narratives, I think, and focus on the strong points of like, oh, here's this thing and they overcame, and then here's this other thing and they overcame, and here's this thing and they overcame. Well, maybe they don't always overcome, and it's important to remember that as people that nobody's perfect. And while Star Trek has always inspired hope, it's not at the expense of humanity. Understanding that we are flawed, understanding that we have things to overcome, that we have areas that we are weak in, that we need to strengthen, is such an important thing. And being able to see characters that we identify with and that we root for go through that too, sort of reaffirms it in ourselves of just kind of like, oh yeah, it's a journey, it's a trek to get there. So Orville, thank you so much for sitting down with me and nerding out for a bit. I hope you had fun.
Oh, it's a blast.
Do you have any parting thoughts before we go about this episode, about Strange New Worlds as a fan, about Discovery as a cast member, your experience here on the Computer Resume podcast? Any parting thoughts before we go?
I completely agree with what you said about Star Trek. I feel like it's one of those shows that, or franchises that always taps into something deeper than what it presents on the surface as just another sci-fi show.
Yeah.
It taps into a lot of like human issues and things, and that we can look within ourselves. And I feel like that's why it has such a strong fan base, because it's so grounded in the reality of it all, outside of like, being in space. But first of all, when people look at sci-fi, because I've had conversations with people about Star Trek, and it's like, I don't watch that because I like shows about realism. I'm like, well, this is real. It's just not our reality yet. Because if you look back, I heard someone say that the sliding door was first on Star Trek. So I'm just like, hey, the whatever spaceship we decide to create on Earth might model off of one of the USS Enterprise or Discoveries.
Yep.
It's just that they're ahead of us, but they're showing us that they never lose the humane side of them, and it's all about connection, coming together, working as a family, working as a team, and how far we can go as a species, not just as a human race, but as like living organisms that are sentient, that can communicate with each other. If we just come together, there's literally no limit to what we can explore, what we can connect to, and what we could do as a new society that we're trying to create, a universal society, not just an earthling society, a universal society. So I think it's really big to have a show like that. I believe, again, it's not only because I'm a sci-fi nerd, I truly believe that's an inevitable future for us. It may not be of our generation, but generations down the line where we decide to go into the stars, we already have like this is going to be a history or tutorial of how to navigate the stars in the future. So this show is important now and in the future. So it's a timeless show. So I'm forever grateful to be a part of this franchise, and for anyone who's been a part of this franchise, for people who have yet to be a part of the franchise, know that there's a space for you here. There's a space for you out there when we reach to that spot. Because I feel like when we reach when we're in the modern day sci-fi and we're all in space and whatever, Star Trek is going to be a history and a reality show. So we just gotta wait for that. But like, super grateful to be a part of the show, and had a lot of fun talking and geeking out about it because, like, I don't know, I talk to a lot of my friends are actors, but they just want to talk about acting, but not like stuff that we're consuming and acting, because I really want to get back to that. I don't want to just watch a show all the time and I'm like, okay, oh, I just noticed something in the background, oh, this camera movement. Like, it's fun, it's interesting, but sometimes I just want to shut off my brain and enjoy it, and it's hard to do that when the people around me are also like going back into that and say, hey, wait, let's go back that shot, and I'm like, wait, man, I just want to see what the story's how it's gonna unfold.
Well, folks, next time we will have another very special guest for Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 5, Charades, which is available exclusively on Paramount Plus. And if you want to hear our brief discussion about martial arts, you can sign up to be a Patreon supporter at patreon.com. Search for us, Computer Resume Podcast, on Patreon to get more of this discussion. Orville, where can people see you, meet you? What are you working on? What's coming down the road for you? And where can people enjoy your work out there on the interwebs?
If you guys want to reach me, anyone wants to reach me, I'm on Instagram, simply under Orville.Cummings, my full name. I had to put a dot there for a reason because there's another Orville Cummings out there. So you can find me on Instagram with that. I'm fairly active. I post a lot of stretch stuff. I like to have fun with it. And anything career-wise come up, I put them there. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm pretty responsive. I'm the man of the people. So I'm very active. I've got a couple of things coming up. I have a movie that's, I think it's coming on the 16th. I did this movie so long ago and I forgot about it. And then it's by Game Theory Films, if you know that production company, and they're putting out the movie. And I'm like, whoa, I forgot I did this movie. Who do I play again? But it was shot in the pandemic. It's coming out. It's called Doubles with Slight Pepper, about a Trinidadian man coming here to be with his estranged father to help him reopen the doubles business they had in Trinidad. And I play Henry, one of the friends of his, trying to support him, trying to get him to let loose and have fun because he's so serious. His dad's dying and he's just like serious. He's just like, before you go, I need the money. He's like, whoa, man, there's more to life than just like money, and like work on your relationship with your dad. Like, it's a very wholesome movie. And then the contrast of that, I have another movie coming out, looking for a TIFF, a Toronto International Film Festival premiere, called Morningside, and that's based on a true story. It's a drama. A role I've never really done before. I remember one of the PAs from Star Trek Discovery came on, and he's just like, Orville. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? He's just like, whoa, you look different. This is not Lieutenant Christopher. I'm like, yeah, because I had my hair braided and everything. And I don't want to get too much of the story, but like it's based on a true story about an unfortunate event that happened in Scarborough in Ontario, where a mass shooting happened, and it follows the people who went to this event, and you follow their lives. So it's a very character driven movie, and you follow each of these characters. And I'm not gonna ruin anything, but it's a mass shooting, so someone dies, but you just don't know who. So hopefully it's not your favorite character that you've been following around this entire time. But it's a very beautiful film, and I'm super excited for it to air and to premiere in Toronto, and then worldwide international premiere. So that's what I got going on coming up soon. So y'all stay tuned for that. And yeah. Oh yes, and if you want to meet me in person and say what up, I will be at the Star Trek Las Vegas convention. I will be there all days. So if you see me, say what up. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Like Todd here, I got there 10 minutes. I've been there for 10 minutes. It was, hey, Lieutenant Christmas, yeah, I got something for you, huh? Door closes. He goes down in the air.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember. He's like, I got something for you. What do you got?
Door
gone in the elevator. It was freaking hilarious, but I'm glad you did that, because if you didn't do that or try to connect with me, we wouldn't be here talking, and I wouldn't have received this beautiful D&D spreadsheet you made for me, and I still treasure it. It's framed. I have it framed up, and I truly appreciate it. So, and you see me, don't be afraid to holler at me, come up to me. Just don't yell, because I might get startled, and I know martial arts, so I might hit you in the throat, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to catch a case, and I don't want to, ruin your larynx. So please, just say what up to me. Don't scream, and yeah, and we'll have a good time. We'll have a blast. I'm there in Vegas. We're gonna have a great time, baby.
And I am at Mr. Todd A. Davis on all of the socials. From all of us at the Computer Resume podcast, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in 10 Forward.
Support us on Patreon and like, rate, review, and share on all your favorite platforms. Feel free to send us your subspace transmissions to computerresumepodcast@gmail.com or at Computer Resume on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The Computer Resume podcast was created and produced by Mr. Todd A. Davis. Our logo was designed by Will Martin and Justin Bishop. The opening theme was produced by Justin Bishop, and our outro music was provided with permission by Dronode. Additional music was provided by Mr. Todd A. Davis and Gary Horn, and the voice of Computer Resume podcast and executive producer, me, Kat Davis. # LLAP. We'll see you next time.
Going through a Star Trek. We're doing Star Trek stuff in space. We probably got some phasers and shuttle pods, and we're gonna find a brand new race.
How's that for a slice of fried gold?